Life doesn't get better by chance, it gets better by change. And the first change that needs to happen is the realization that you are responsible for your life, not your parents, not your boss, not the government. You. The moment you take full responsibility, everything starts to shift. Until then, you remain stuck, blaming, complaining, waiting for circumstances to improve before you take action. But life doesn't work that way. Life doesn't change until you change. And the first change that must take place is a shift in responsibility. From blaming to owning, from excuses to action. Too many people spend their days pointing fingers at circumstances, waiting for external forces to improve their lives. But the truth is, if you keep waiting, you'll keep waiting. The only person responsible for where you are today and where you will be tomorrow is you. Until that realization sinks in, nothing will change. People blame their upbringing. I wasn't born into wealth. They blame their education. I didn't go to the right school. They blame their past. If only I had made different choices. They blame the government, the economy, their boss, their spouse, even luck. But here's what they don't realize. Every second spent blaming is a second lost. A second that could have been used to change their situation. A second that could have been used to change their situation. No one has ever built a better future by making excuses for the present. Some people get stuck in the trap of circumstances. They say, you don't understand my situation. But history proves that success is not about where you start. It's about what you do with where you are. Some of the greatest success stories have come from people who had every reason to quit, every excuse available, yet they refused to let circumstances define them. They took full ownership of their lives. And that's the difference. Not talent, not luck, not intelligence, ownership. Taking responsibility means understanding that you are not owed anything. No one is coming to rescue you. You have to rescue yourself. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you take control of your destiny. Because the truth is, life doesn't respond to complaints. It responds to effort. And the moment you stop blaming and start acting, you begin to see results. You stop waiting for a lucky break and start creating your own opportunities. You stop depending on others and start depending on yourself. That's when the real transformation begins. Some people think responsibility is a burden, but it's actually the greatest freedom, because when you take responsibility, you stop being a puppet of circumstances. You stop being controlled by what's happening around you. Instead, you become the one shaping your future. You decide what happens next. You stop saying, I can't because, and start saying, I will because I must. That shift alone is what separates those who win from those who wish. But responsibility isn't just about the big things. It's in the little decisions made every day. It's in how you use your time, what you choose to focus on, the habits you build, the way you react to setbacks. Some people blame their lack of progress on the world around them, but the truth is, it's the food they eat, the books they read, the people they spend time with, the thoughts they entertain, all of it adds up. No one wakes up successful by accident. Success is the result of consistent responsibility taken over time. Some people resist responsibility because it's uncomfortable. It's easier to blame than to own up. It's easier to say, it's not my fault, than to say, I could have done better. But growth never comes from comfort. It comes from hard truths. And the hardest truth of all is this. Where you are right now is a result of the choices you've made up to this point. That's not easy to hear, but it's necessary. Because the moment you accept it, you also accept the fact that where you go next is up to you. Responsibility is also about how you handle failure. Many people use failure as an excuse to quit. They say, I tried, but it didn't work. But responsible people don't see failure as an end point. They see it as a lesson. They ask, what can I learn from this? How can I improve? What's my next move? They don't let setbacks define them. They use them as fuel because they know the only real failure is giving up. Everything else is just feedback. Another sign of true responsibility is taking control of your mindset. Most people don't realize how much their thoughts shape their reality. They allow negativity, doubt, and fear to dictate their actions. They talk themselves out of opportunities before they even try. But responsible people guard their mindset. They refuse to entertain self-pity. They refuse to dwell on problems without seeking solutions. They understand that what they focus on expands, so they choose to focus on progress. They don't wait for motivation. They create it by taking action. Taking full responsibility also means owning your time. Time is the most valuable resource you have, yet many people waste it. They spend hours scrolling through distractions, waiting for inspiration, doing things that add no value to their future. Then they wonder why they're stuck. But responsible people treat time like currency. They invest it wisely. They prioritize. They make time for growth, learning, improvement. They understand that every wasted hour is an hour they'll never get back. And finally, responsibility means no more excuses. No more, I'll start tomorrow. No more, it's not the right time. No more, I'm too busy. Because here's the truth. There will never be a perfect time. There will always be obstacles. But waiting doesn't change anything. Action does. Responsible people don't wait for the right moment. They create it. They don't wait for permission. They take initiative. They don't wait for circumstances to improve. They improve themselves. So the question is, are you taking full responsibility for your life? Or are you waiting? Waiting for luck, waiting for opportunity, waiting for things to change on their own. Because if you are, you'll be waiting forever. The moment you decide to take full ownership, everything changes. Not immediately, not magically, but steadily, consistently, undeniably. And that decision, that's yours to make. Fear is a natural part of life. It's built into us for survival. But the problem isn't fear itself. It's allowing fear to control our decisions. Too many people let fear dictate what they do, what they don't do, and ultimately what kind of life they live. They hesitate, they hold back, they second-guess themselves, and before they know it, years have passed and they're still standing in the same place, wondering why nothing has changed. The truth is, fear doesn't go away. It never disappears completely. But if you let it make your choices for you, it will keep you stuck, rob you of opportunity, and leave you with nothing but regret. Fear keeps people from taking risks. It convinces them that failure is too dangerous, that they might lose too much, that they might embarrass themselves. It whispers, what if you fail? What if people laugh? What if it doesn't work? But what most people don't realize is that the real danger isn't in trying and failing. It's in never trying at all. Because failure isn't the end. It's just a lesson. But fear doesn't teach that. Fear makes failure look like a monster, something to be avoided at all costs. So people play it safe. They stay in their comfort zones. They settle for less than they're capable of. And in doing so, they guarantee the one thing they were trying to avoid: failure. Fear also makes people overthink. Instead of acting, they analyze, they weigh options, they wait for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never comes. And while they're stuck in their heads, life moves forward without them. Some of the greatest opportunities are lost not because someone wasn't ready, but because someone was too afraid to take the leap. Fear magnifies risk and minimizes reward. It convinces people that staying where they are is safer than going after what they truly want. But in reality, there is no safety in standing still. The world is always changing. If you don't move forward, you fall behind. One of the most common ways fear controls decisions is through the fear of judgment. People worry about what others will think, how they will be perceived, whether they will be accepted. So they play small. They don't speak up. They don't take bold steps. They choose comfort over courage. But the truth is, no matter what you do, people will always have opinions. You could take no risks at all, and someone will still criticize you. So if judgment is inevitable, why let it control you? The people who live with the most freedom are the ones who realize that opinions don't pay their bills, opinions don't build their dreams, and opinions don't define their potential. Fear also disguises itself as practicality. It tells people that now isn't the right time, that they should wait until they're more prepared, that they need more knowledge, more money, more security before they make a move. And while planning is important, there comes a point where waiting turns into an excuse. The truth is, most successful people didn't start when they felt fully ready. They started when they had just enough courage to take the first step, because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. Another way fear controls decisions is by making the future look uncertain. It convinces people that the unknown is too risky, that stepping into something new is too dangerous. But everything worthwhile in life exists on the other side of uncertainty. Every great success story started with someone walking into the unknown, not fully sure of what would happen next, but willing to move forward anyway. Growth doesn't come from staying where everything is predictable. It comes from embracing the unknown, from being willing to take risks, from being open to failure and learning from it. Fear can also make people settle for less. It convinces them that asking for more is too risky, that they should be grateful for what they have, that pushing for something better might lead to loss. But settling is just another form of fear. It's fear disguised as contentment. And years later, those who settle don't look back with pride, they look back with regret, wondering what could have been if they had just been a little braver, a little bolder, a little more willing to chase what they really wanted. The real tragedy isn't failure. The real tragedy is never knowing what could have been. Fear will always be there, but it should never be the one making the decisions. The best way to beat fear is through action. Every time you take action in spite of fear, you weaken its grip. You prove to yourself that fear is just a thought, not a reality. You build confidence, and with every step forward, fear loses power over you. Fear can only control you if you let it. It will always try to talk you out of taking risks, out of believing in yourself, out of going after what you truly want. But at the end of the day, fear is a liar. It creates problems that don't exist. It magnifies risks that aren't real. It makes the worst-case scenario look like the only outcome. But those who succeed are the ones who refuse to let fear win. They feel it, but they move forward anyway. They don't let fear decide their future. They decide their future. And that choice is available to everyone, including you. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development. That's the simple truth. Success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who deserves it. But too many people neglect their growth. They want more money, better relationships, a greater life, but they don't invest in themselves. They expect life to hand them something they haven't prepared for, and that's why they stay stuck, because they haven't yet become the person who can handle the success they desire. Personal development is the foundation of everything. Your mindset, your habits, your discipline, your ability to handle challenges. These things determine the quality of your life far more than external circumstances. But too often, people focus on what's outside of them. They chase money instead of skills. They seek shortcuts instead of mastery. They hope things will get easier instead of working on getting better. But the truth is, life doesn't get easier. You get stronger. And the only way to get stronger is through intentional growth. The biggest mistake people make is believing they can stay the same and still achieve more. They think the job will get better, the opportunities will improve, their financial situation will magically change. But nothing changes until you do. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. There's no such thing as standing still in life. Either you're getting better or you're getting left behind. And the difference is personal development. Some people neglect their growth because they're too busy. They say they don't have time to read books, to learn new skills, to work on their mindset. But they don't realize that not making time for personal development is the reason they're so busy in the first place. They're constantly putting out fires instead of preventing them. They're working hard, but not smart. They're running in circles instead of moving forward. And the only way to break that cycle is to grow, to improve, to become more efficient, to develop the habits that make success inevitable. Others avoid personal development because it's uncomfortable. Growth means confronting your weaknesses, admitting where you fall short, challenging yourself to be better. And that's not easy. It's much easier to distract yourself, to stay in your comfort zone, to avoid anything that makes you feel inadequate. But avoiding growth doesn't eliminate your weaknesses. It just makes them permanent. And the longer you avoid them, the more they cost you. Lost opportunities, stagnant progress, unmet potential. The price of neglecting personal development is far greater than the discomfort of working on yourself. One of the biggest signs of neglecting personal development is blaming external factors for where you are in life. People say, if only I had more money, more time, better connections. But the reality is, it's never about resources. It's about resourcefulness. Successful people don't wait for the perfect conditions. They make the most of what they have and continuously improve themselves. They don't rely on luck. They rely on growth. They understand that every skill they build, every habit they strengthen, every lesson they learn puts them in a better position to win. Personal development is not just about success in business or finances. It affects every area of life. The way you handle relationships, the way you deal with stress, the way you overcome setbacks. All of it is tied to your personal growth. Some people struggle with relationships because they never developed emotional intelligence. Others feel lost because they never took the time to develop self-awareness. Every problem in life can be traced back to a skill that was never developed, and the solution is always the same: growth. Some people wait for motivation to start working on themselves, but motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes. Discipline is what creates real change. Developing yourself must become a non-negotiable part of your daily routine. Reading, learning, reflecting, improving. These are not things you do when you have time. They are things you make time for. Because the truth is, success isn't something you pursue. It's something you grow into. And the only way to grow into it is by constantly working on yourself. One of the greatest investments you can make is in your own mind. A single idea from the right book can change your entire perspective. A single mentor can accelerate your growth by years. A single new habit can completely transform your future. But none of that happens unless you make the decision to prioritize personal development. Growth is not automatic. You don't become better by accident. You have to be intentional about it. You have to seek it out, put in the effort, and make it a part of who you are. The best part is, the more you develop yourself, the more doors open for you. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach become attainable. Challenges that once felt overwhelming become manageable. You start to attract success instead of chasing it. You start to become the kind of person who naturally creates wealth, builds strong relationships, and lives with confidence. Because personal development isn't just about learning, it's about becoming. And once you become the right person, success becomes inevitable. The question is, are you actively growing, or are you waiting, hoping, wishing for things to get better on their own? Because they won't. You must make the decision to develop yourself every single day, to learn, to grow, to improve. Because the life you want is not something you find, it's something you build. And you build it by becoming the person who deserves it. The people you surround yourself with have a powerful influence on your mindset, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Whether you realize it or not, the conversations you engage in, the attitudes you absorb, and the expectations that others place on you all shape the person you become. If you spend enough time around negative, small-minded, or unambitious people, you will slowly start to reflect their behaviors, their limitations, and their fears. And that's why so many people remain stuck, not because they lack talent, not because they don't have potential, but because they are surrounded by the wrong people. Some relationships drain you, some inspire you, and some keep you stuck in place. The wrong people will fill your mind with doubt, make you second-guess yourself, and pull you away from your goals. They will tell you that your dreams are unrealistic, that your ambitions are foolish, and that you should settle for what's comfortable. Not because they are trying to harm you, but because your growth threatens their complacency. When you start to rise, when you begin to change, when you break free from the limitations they have accepted, it makes them uncomfortable. And instead of supporting your growth, they try to hold you back, not because they don't care, but because your success reminds them of their own stagnation. Some people live their entire lives under the influence of small thinkers. They allow the opinions of others to dictate what they can and cannot do. They seek validation from people who have never built anything for themselves. They take advice from those who have never taken risks, never pursued big dreams, never stepped outside of their comfort zone, and because of that, they remain in the same place year after year, wondering why success seems so far away. But success isn't far, it's just on the other side of different choices, and one of the most important choices you will ever make is who you allow into your life. It's not just the obvious negative influences that hold people back, it's also those who are comfortable with mediocrity, those who have no desire to improve, those who see life as something to be endured rather than something to be shaped. If you spend your time around people who complain, who make excuses, who blame circumstances instead of taking responsibility, you will start to adopt the same mindset. Not because you intend to, but because environment is stronger than willpower. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your surroundings. Every conversation you have is either feeding your potential or draining it. The words you hear on a daily basis shape the way you think, and the way you think shapes the way you act. If you constantly hear people talking about limitations, struggles, and failures, that becomes your reality. If you are surrounded by gossip, negativity, and drama, that becomes your mindset. But when you put yourself in the company of those who are striving for something greater, who focus on solutions instead of problems, who see challenges as opportunities rather than excuses, your entire perspective begins to shift. Your circle should challenge you. It should push you to be better. It should force you to step outside of your comfort zone, to think bigger, to dream bolder. The right people won't let you stay stagnant. They won't tolerate excuses. They will inspire you, motivate you, and hold you accountable. They will remind you of what you are capable of when you start to doubt yourself. They will push you to become the best version of yourself, not because they expect perfection, but because they see your potential even when you don't. Some people hold on to toxic relationships out of loyalty, out of fear of being alone, or out of habit. They convince themselves that they can maintain friendships with people who have no ambition, no discipline, and no desire for growth without being affected. But that's not how it works. You can't spend your time with people who are moving in the wrong direction and expect to go the right way. You can't keep company with those who make excuses and expect to develop a mindset of discipline and action. You can't constantly listen to negativity and expect to maintain a positive outlook. Letting go of the wrong people is not about thinking you are better than them. It's about knowing that you deserve better for yourself. It's about protecting your energy, your focus, and your future. It's about making the hard decision to prioritize your growth over comfort. Because the truth is, not everyone is meant to be on your journey. Some people were only meant to be in your life for a season, and keeping them around longer than necessary only slows you down. The right people won't be threatened by your ambition, they will fuel it. They won't discourage your dreams, they will celebrate them. They won't hold you back, they will push you forward. And when you find those people, your entire life changes. Your confidence grows, your mindset expands, and your results improve. Not because you suddenly became more capable, but because you finally put yourself in an environment that nurtures your potential instead of stifling it. The question is, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are they building you up or tearing you down? Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Are they feeding your growth or feeding your fears? Because at the end of the day, your life will always be a reflection of the company you keep. Choose wisely.